Have you ever felt like you were trapped in a financial cycle where no matter how much effort you put in, you just can't seem to move forward? That feeling that despite all your hard work, your financial situation never improves? If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Today, we're going to talk about something fundamental: how the financial system and society in general limit your opportunities for financial growth, and most importantly, how you can break this cycle and start building your wealth in a simple and practical way. If this interests you, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because today's content will be eye-opening and transformative for your financial journey. Today, I am going to show you how to identify these limitations and, more importantly, how you can start breaking free from them. With a growth mindset and small daily actions, you can transform your financial life. Stay with me until the end and discover how to start adopting habits that truly work and put you on the path to financial freedom. Let's go. Now, before we talk about how to break these barriers, it is important to understand what keeps so many people trapped in this financial cycle. Have you noticed how, despite all your efforts, you always end up limited by the same conditions? Low salaries, high taxes, high interest rates, and an almost non-existent financial education for most people. The system teaches us to work hard, but it does not teach us how to make that work pay off in the long run. This cycle, this limiting cycle, is what keeps many of us stagnant, unable to advance financially. And it is important to understand that this is no coincidence. Society often does not teach us to think differently about money. The system favors consumerism, debt, and keeps us trapped in a model that does not create real wealth for people, but merely keeps them operating at a financial stability level far below what they could achieve. The good news is that it doesn't have to be this way. The key to breaking this cycle actually starts within you, with changing your mindset. If you're still viewing your finances through the lens of a fixed mindset, where you believe your financial destiny is sealed or that your situation cannot improve, it is time to change that. A growth mindset is the first step to breaking imposed limitations. People with a growth mindset believe they can learn, evolve, and continuously improve no matter how difficult it seems. The good news is that you can learn to develop this mindset. I am going to tell you how. Did you know that some of the richest and most successful people in the world, like Dave Ramsey or Robert Kiyosaki, started with very little? They were not born into wealthy families, but adopted a growth mindset, learned about finances, and committed to making changes, even small ones, every day. You can do this too. A growth mindset allows you to look at financial difficulties as learning opportunities. Instead of feeling stuck, you start asking, what can I learn from this? How can I do this differently? If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take this opportunity and subscribe. Here, we will learn together how to transform your finances. Now, let's talk about the practical barriers. What really prevents wealth building, even when we have a growth mindset? To begin with, the lack of control over spending is one of the biggest culprits. If you do not know exactly where your money is going, it is impossible to create a plan to build wealth. How many of us have felt like money just disappears at the end of the month? That's because we often spend without thinking. Impulse purchases, the lack of a clear budget, and the constant desire to consume without reflecting on financial consequences are traps that hold us back. How can you improve this? Simple. Start controlling your expenses with a personal budget, even if it is very basic at first. Believe me, having control over your spending is already a big step toward achieving financial freedom. Don't know where to start? Write down everything you spend for an entire month. It may seem tedious, but it is the first step to understanding where your money is going. And if you are enjoying the content so far, don't forget to leave a like. Additionally, reckless consumerism is everywhere. We live in a society where we always want more. More clothes, more electronics, more things. But the problem is that this makes us overspend, and instead of creating wealth, we are creating debt. This consumption cycle is often fueled by advertising, social media, and even friendships, where everyone tries to impress each other with what they have. But what you really need to build wealth is to learn to control consumption impulses. This does not mean being stingy or not enjoying life. It means being conscious. It means valuing what you have, what truly adds value to your life, and knowing how to spend wisely. Now, Let's talk about something really important for breaking this cycle: investments. Many people believe they need a lot of money to start investing, but that is not true. You can start with very little, even if it is just a small portion of your salary. The secret is consistency. The simple act of investing a small amount every month can, over time, make a huge difference. The key here is to start as soon as possible. Investing is essential to breaking out of financial stability and creating long-term growth opportunities. Don't know where to start? Treasury bonds are a good option for beginners because they are safe and accessible. I mention this because, as simple as it sounds, many people still do not understand the importance of investing, and that is what prevents them from effectively building wealth. And speaking of building wealth, did you know that one of the biggest causes of financial stress is a lack of an emergency fund? Imagine an unexpected situation, like a broken car or a sudden medical bill. Without an emergency fund, you end up resorting to debt, and the cycle of poverty only worsens. The good news is that starting an emergency fund does not have to be complicated or difficult. Start with a goal of $500. For example, once you reach this goal, increase the amount. The important thing is to start as soon as possible. This will give you more security and less financial stress. Many times, we fail to see the barriers that the system places in front of us because they are disguised in our own daily attitudes. The financial system, banking institutions, the media, and even formal education have a huge influence on how we think about and manage money. What you need to understand is that these barriers are not necessarily physical, but psychological. They shape our vision of financial success and end up creating a limited belief that we must follow certain steps established by society. And this is no coincidence. The system feeds on our lack of financial education, our ignorance about the true value of money and the opportunities it offers. The first step to breaking free from this is understanding how the choices you make are shaped by these external influences and how you can take full control of your financial life, starting with how you spend and invest. Therefore, challenge what you have always believed to be normal financially. By doing this, you will begin to see new opportunities. Now that we know how the system creates external limitations, it is time to focus on how your mindset influences the way you handle money. You may have a good salary, but if you do not have a growth mindset, you can easily be consumed by the same financial struggles. The secret lies in seeing yourself as someone capable of learning, growing, and changing your financial reality. People with a growth mindset do not see challenges as obstacles, but as opportunities to learn. So, how can you adopt a growth mindset? The first thing is to allow yourself to make mistakes. No successful person has reached where they are without going through some financial missteps. What differentiates these people is the ability to learn from mistakes and not let them define their future. Furthermore, a growth mindset involves constantly seeking new knowledge and staying alert to the opportunities that arise around you. Start looking more into financial education, investments, and ways to increase your income. All of this will naturally lead to a shift in your mindset. Now that we have talked about mindset, let's move on to practical part: controlling expenses. No matter how much you earn, if you do not know how to control what comes in and goes out, you will never achieve financial freedom. Budgeting does not have to be complicated, and you do not need to be a financial expert to start. The first step is simply understanding where your money is going. Write down all your expenses, from small daily costs to fixed bills. By doing this, you will start to notice spending patterns that may be draining your finances without you realizing it. Moreover, people often spend on things that are not necessary just because they are used to them. A coffee every day, for example, may not seem like much, but at the end of the month, it can add up to a considerable amount. When you have a well-defined budget, you begin to make more conscious decisions about where to spend. Remember, expense control does not mean giving up things you love, but rather spending with more awareness and focusing on the long term. Investing is one of the biggest secrets to achieving financial independence, but many people feel intimidated by the topic. The good news is that it is not necessary to start with large amounts. You can invest with little money, as long as you are consistent. The key is regularity. When you invest regularly, even in small amounts, over time, the effect of compound interest begins to work in your favor. One of the best ways to start investing is by choosing an investment type that suits your profile. Treasury bonds, for example, are accessible and secure, ideal for beginners. You can also opt for low-risk investments, such as CDBs or investment funds. The idea is to start now and invest every month. Even if it is a small amount, the fact that you are investing consistently will put you on the right path to building wealth. Mark Johnson was always a pragmatic man. Born and raised in a small town in rural Ohio, he learned from an early age the value of hard work. He did not have a luxurious lifestyle, but he was always able to pay his bills and keep his household in order. By the age of 36, Mark was well established in his career as an IT technician at a large company. Although he had a good income, he never had an aggressive financial mindset. He did not like to complicate things and live his life with the basics: a stable salary, a modest budget, and no significant concerns about the future. He believed he was comfortable. But everything changed in an instant. In 2018, Mark faced one of the biggest challenges of his life: an unexpected health crisis. After experiencing intense chest pain and being diagnosed with a serious heart problem, he had to undergo emergency surgery. The recovery period was long, and although Mark was covered by health insurance, he had to bear unforeseen costs such as medications, private consultations, and most importantly, the financial impact of not being able to work for weeks. At that time, he had never imagined how difficult this period would be. On the first night after surgery, Mark lay staring at the ceiling, thinking about what could have been. He knew he would have to stay out of work for a while, but what worried him even more was the idea of how he would keep up with his bills. What if I don't have enough to pay my bills? What if my insurance doesn't cover everything? He wondered. He knew he could borrow money from friends, but that was never something he felt comfortable with. That's when he remembered something his father always told him: no matter how much you earn, always set aside something for emergencies. At the time, he had not paid much attention to this advice, but now he truly understood the value of those words. Mark realized that, over the years, he had occasionally set aside small amounts for savings, but never consistently. He had never dedicated himself to creating a real emergency fund. Now he asked himself, if I had been more disciplined, would it have been easier to get through this moment? Fortunately, he had a small reserve, an amount that was already in an emergency fund he had started a few months earlier when he enrolled in a personal finance course. He had begun setting aside 10% of his income each month, initially without much commitment, but with the intention of accumulating over time. And this small fund, which he called security, was what saved him when the crisis hit. With this emergency fund, Mark was able to cover his bills during the time he was away from work, pay for medications and treatments without resorting to loans or credit cards, which he knew would only create more debt. This fund not only gave him the necessary security, but also kept him mentally calm during that turbulent period. He was able to focus on his recovery without the constant pressure of an imminent financial collapse. After his recovery, Mark returned to work, and over time, his financial situation returned to normal. However, he never forgot the lesson he learned during that difficult period: how much a lack of preparation can make a difference in times of crisis. He continued to make monthly deposits into his emergency fund, increasing the amount until he had enough to cover at least 6 months of expenses. Mark never again underestimated the importance of having this financial cushion, not just as a form of protection, but as an essential strategy for ensuring stability and peace of mind at any moment in life. Today, Mark shares his story with friends and family, encouraging everyone to prioritize building an emergency fund. He believes that if he had done it earlier, he could have avoided the stress and worries he experienced during that period. Mark still remembers with gratitude that small fund which, in a moment of crisis, was the key for him to overcome financial difficulties without going into debt, without losing peace of mind, and most importantly, without losing control over his life.